The suspect accused of killing 5 people at Club Q is facing more charges. Prosecutors filed 12 more charges this week, including attempted murder, after finding 2 additional victims from the night of the shooting. The suspect is now facing 317 charges.
Suspect appeared in court today, trying to get their preliminary hearing pushed back. The judge denied that. The hearing set for February 22nd. The community stepped up time and time again to help those impacted by the shooting.
Down in Colorado Springs, some performers are hitting the stage for the first time since the shooting. Here's 9 News reporter Luis De Leon.
Pretty busy.
Latrina Ollie hasn't even officially opened her lounge yet.
I want this to be a perfect night for them.
But the owner of Lux Daiquiri Lounge says the decision to host tonight was an easy one.
It's not just hosting an event, but it's, making sure I support everyone that's a part of that community.
The stage is set for that community, putting on a drag show for those impacted by the tragedy at Club Q.
A lot of these performers, this is going to be their first time performing since the event happened.
Oh, there it is.
Performers like Wyatt Kent.
Listen, I've got many names.
Who tonight is performing as Potted Plant.
It really means a lot to solidify kind of the legacy of Club Q.
A place that they called home, and a place that their partner Daniel Aston called home too.
He will always and forever be my biggest supporter. I perform at every event from this point forward for Daniel, for Ashley, for Kelly, for Derek, for Raymond, performing for all of those beauties.
Proceeds from tonight's performance will go towards the staff and performers of Club Q, but it also marks an important moment.
I hope for healing. I hope for people to be able to come here and maybe grieve a little bit.
Support is shown in many ways, but resilience is the way that this community is showing it.
I know that this is something that I can't stop doing. This is something that is a necessary part of who I am, and I don't think Daniel would want me to stop, nor would really any of the others. It's a drive now.
The owner of that space tells me that they of course did have security on hand for tonight. Around 200 people were expected to show up to the event, and Kyle, by my count anyways, on the event page, at least 5 of the performers that took to the stage were specifically performers that would perform regularly at Club Q.
Performance that's an act of resilience and hope and love and defiance.
Absolutely, that is the energy that filled that room tonight.
All right, Luis, thank you very much. Denver's closing one of its shelters for migrants following a decrease in the new arrivals to the city. Only 27 migrants arrived last night. It's the lowest one-day total since the city started keeping track late last year. Because numbers have been declining, Denver will deactivate one of 2 emergency shelters early next week. These are the shelters set up in rec centers. The city is limiting shelter stays to 2 weeks' time, but promising to work with people on a case-by-case basis if they don't find other shelter within 2 weeks.
Police in Thornton have more information about a suspect who killed a 70-year-old man on Christmas Day. Police say the victim, 70-year-old Manuel Jaquez Machado, was beaten to death outside Thirsty Sports Pub on East 104th Avenue. Police say Jaquez Machado backed into the suspect's car, which led to the beating. Police put out a new picture of the suspect's car. They believe he was driving a red 2014 to 2018 Jeep Cherokee. This is just a stock photo, but the actual car does have a black decal on the hood and an aftermarket roof rack. Anybody with any information is asked to call Crime Stoppers.
2 men died in separate incidents at Vail Mountain Resort yesterday. Game Creek Bowl was shut down while crews responded to a 63-year-old man from Fort Collins who had a medical emergency. And then in the Northwoods area, there was an incident involving a 23-year-old man from Maryland. Vail would only say it was a serious incident, wouldn't talk about it anymore. Both men were taken to the hospital where they died.
Colorado Parks and Wildlife is warning of life-threatening ice conditions at 11 Mile State Park. Park officials say the most unstable ice conditions are by Witcher's Cove and Coyote Ridge. Several people have fallen through the ice, but nobody has been seriously injured, according to the agency. They're warning ice anglers of unprecedented and dangerous ice pressure ridges. That's when sheets collide, driven by wind and temperature changes. Part of the ridge is above the surface, making ice depth hard to determine. CPW recommends if you are going to go out ice fishing there, bring a buddy. Closer to the metro area, it was gorgeous today. Sunny, a little bit warm, and those mild temperatures will follow us through tomorrow. But another system could be on the way in the high country and make its way here by the end of the weekend in Metro Denver. Chris will have all of the details coming up in his forecast. Living in our state means we are constantly surrounded by nature's beauty. Now some doctors and therapists are prescribing a dose of Mother Nature to improve patients' health. Weld County recently rebooted the Outdoor RX program this year. It's a simple idea. Go outside, feel better. The state's Outdoor Recreation Industry Office believes it's a one-of-a-kind idea in the state, but it's found in other places around the country and internationally too. The side effects for the prescription, not so bad. Live longer, better heart health, and reduce anxiety and stress.
That seems to be linked. We don't really know why, but there's some idea that it's around evolutionarily. We grew up in nature. 20 minutes a day can be enough.
The idea is if your doctor or therapist prescribes it, you'll prioritize it. The state is also revisiting on how to scale up more programs like this one.
Colorado saw a nearly $100 million drop in marijuana tax revenue last year, and the industry says small businesses are hurting. Latest report from the Colorado Department of Revenue says last year the state collected $325 million in cannabis tax revenue. It's a sharp decline from the $423 million it collected in 2021. The very plainly named Marijuana Industry Group says the drop in sales is forcing small businesses to close or lay off employees. The association also said some patients are turning to unregulated markets to get cannabis. The group says online hemp retailers are selling highly intoxicating products with no significant health or safety regulations. They want legislation to bring regulations in line with the legal cannabis industry.
The CDC says there's a safety concern with Pfizer's updated bivalent COVID-19 vaccine. They say there is a possible increase in a certain type of stroke in people 65 and older who recently received one of their updated boosters. A monitoring system called the Vaccine Safety Data Link detected the potential risk. However, the CDC says it's unlikely the data represents a true risk. The center says there may be confounding factors that may be biasing that data. They continue to recommend staying up to date on your COVID vaccines. Nearly 26% of eligible Coloradans have gotten their updated booster. The state's mobile vaccine unit is still making stops throughout Colorado. It'll be at a number of schools and libraries starting tomorrow through next Wednesday. You'll have to make an appointment online, and the state is going to also start sending out text messages and emails to parents whose kids may be due for a vaccine. To see if it is making a stop near you, just head to the health department's website. And as a reminder, the state is closing the remaining mass testing sites this weekend. The State Health Department is closing the remaining 20 community testing sites on Sunday. Majority of people are just relying on at-home tests at this point. The state is still providing free at-home tests at more than 200 distribution centers, and you can also order them again through the federal government if you haven't already.
The White House is trying to explain President Joe Biden's handling of classified documents which should not have been at his home and private office. President Biden would not answer questions today as he welcomed the Japanese Prime Minister to the White House. Ignored questions about the special counsel now investigating his handling of documents after his time as vice president. New details are emerging about the initial batch of 10 classified documents found at a Biden-affiliated think tank. CNN reports a memo from Biden to then President Obama was stored in a closet, along with briefing memos prepared for Biden phone calls with the British Prime Minister and President of the European Council.
There's an ongoing process, and we have spoken when it is appropriate.
Details are not known about the other set of classified documents found at Biden's home in Delaware. Senior White House advisors say when all the facts come out, they'll show that they took the right steps. The U.S. is inching closer to defaulting on its debts. The Treasury Department is warning that the country will reach its debt limit as soon as Thursday, much earlier than projected. The debt limit restrains the total amount of money the government is allowed to legally borrow to pay for existing obligations, not new spending, existing obligations. So think Social Security and Medicare payments, military salaries, payments to federal workers. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen says extraordinary measures will have to be implemented unless Congress increases or suspends the debt limit. Republicans have talked about using the threat of a default to gain concessions from Democrats. The White House said today it will not negotiate on raising the debt limit.
Floods are destroying parts of California as they brace for their 8th atmospheric river in over 2 weeks.
And it's mild and tranquil for now, but we've got a string of storms headed our way starting on Sunday. Details on those coming up in my full forecast.
It's all about the genetics at the National Western Stock Show, and the next award-winning animal could already be there on ice.